Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 2100 and Doubleshot 1994. Who would have thought I'd get this one particularly, because I think just last year, I think I just reached episode 2000. Now we're 2100. Now, with this particular review, before I talk about it, by the way, the review itself discussing a booster gold trade and the final trade for Google Devil Dinosaur, obviously. But in the case of basically what this signifies, it is something though. We're in the second month of 2023 and I reached episode 2100, which is awesome. Now, in case you're curious though, this was my last video for the evening because I don't have more time to do more videos tonight. So, now, I have been thoroughly enjoying doing this review series, and the fact that, well, stuff has changed when I originally did this series. Now, this year in particular is going to be very important for me in terms of recording videos on my YouTube channel. The reason being, because this year marks 10 years since my first video ever happened. 10 years. This coming October, believe it or not. Yep, in just 8 months. Will mark 10 years since my first video. 10 years. And that is quite something. The fact that I'm doing this for a decade now. Yeah, I've been doing this since I was like 25. And I basically enjoyed a lot of that stuff I've reviewed. Now, to date, I've only discontinued one series because I lost interest in it. And that was my figure reviews. After like 3 episodes, I just dropped it. Because I lost interest in it. Figures is not exactly something that interests me very much. I just read those 3 figures because I felt like it. And I just dropped it after 3 episodes because I just lost interest. That's the thing. I just lost interest in it. I love collecting figures for anime, but as for talking about them per se, it's not for me. Nope. Now, some of you may notice basically a couple series that have not been seen on my YouTube channel in probably about a couple years. Maybe a little bit longer. One, of course, is my novel reviews. I have not... Now, the series is basically... Mostly it's been not exactly on hiatus per se. It just... I haven't produced a new video for that in about 2 or 3 years. The reason being because I have not read a new light novel. Any regular novels. No Star Trek or Star Wars. I own a couple of them. I just don't have time because I'm basically watching all of the other stuff. Basically watching like Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, like the Mill Heroes, the anime, read light novels and manga. I just don't have time. I would love to read them. I own a couple of them. I'll probably read them in the future. But as of the moment, I don't have time to. But what about another series I've done in a while? The movie reviews. One of my it was actually it's like in the case of this series, it is one of my oldest review series to date. That one is kind of very similar, where that I have watched a few movies recently, but I just haven't had a chance to sit down and talk about them very much. Some of you might also notice though it's been a while since my last Doctor Who video. The reason because I'm busy with Tokusatsu stuff, so I don't have time at the moment to do Doctor Who. I probably will get back to in the future when I get a chance to go on my break from Tokusatsu for a while. Yep. But mostly everything's... Now, the thing with my movie reviews, originally that was DVD reviews. The whole take on that, and this series in particular, was actually a take on something from a different channel I used to watch. I don't have time to watch anymore. It was a guy by the name of Chris Ventura. He didn't do the comic corner thing very much as I did. I did a lot because I personally like reading graphic novels. That's simple, the best of it. And of course, his brother Mike reviewed DVDs. And he did it from the corner of his room. I try to do that, but I just basically do where my laptop is. That's simply basically how I do it. I may do different style he does, and he has since... He may have different opinions than I do. I have a chance to watch his videos in a few years because I just don't have time. That's a simple gist of it. I might cater to the case of one friend of his, Mike Spire Slayer, But him, not particularly. He, of course, well, he is a big Superman fan, and he was never a big fan of New 52. He is a fan of Dan Jurgens. He loves 90s Superman, but at times he just doesn't like the whole thing. He's actually one of the few comic reviewers I did watch, along with Ed the Blue Goblin, and one other person like I mentioned, because he and I have not spoken in 10 years, because he basically was, well, being not a nice person to me, because I dared to outsmart him on something. Yes, I spoke to him once via basically a Google Plus Hangout. I am not going to mention his name, purely because the fact the guy, not long after he decided to do that to me, I unsubscribed from all of his channels. He actually had a comic, he had one for comics, reactions, and also one for wrestling. I have since discontinued talking about him, or at least basically on his videos, because basically I want nothing to do with him. I'm not going to mention his name. Heck, even a friend of his basically, believe it or not, he has stopped doing videos. That was Sly Cooper 88. I enjoyed his I think it was like Let's Know Heroes. I think it was. Like, I had a series similar with that, but I replaced that with the comic history videos, which I need to do another one of those. Which, those are pure fun to do. I love doing comic history, because those I talk about particular characters and their history. I may not be as detailed as some people might go through when it comes to particular characters, but I try to do the best I can, per se. The one guy who was accused of just reading my Wikipedia page, I try to do it from memory what I remember from reading the comics, basically detailing the history. Now, to discuss basically these two traits. First up, we have Boost to Gold, Volume 2, Blue and Gold, which collects Boost to Gold, Volume 2, issue numbers 7 through 10, and two issues that, if you were in the mid-2000s, you were thinking, why the heck would DC publish these comics? Issue 0 and 1 million. Now, there's a probably good reason for this. The reason why Boost to Gold got these, because he didn't have an ongoing series in the 90s. So, let's just revisit the 1990s. Like, 0 is basically not to 0 Hour, where a lot of the books, pretty much a lot of DC books publishing at that point in time, all had 0 issues. It is a completely different concept what it did for New 52. That was 0 month. The whole point of that was to explain new backstories for characters. Some were good, some were really, really bad. Yep, the 1 millionth issue, that was basically part of an event known as DC 1 million. DC 1 million is basically an event where the present-day DC superheroes are visited by their counterparts from the century of 862 million. Yeah, we're like Batman is a robot. Actually, Robin's a robot and Batman just did Batman here. They kind of get Boost to Go his own thing there. Now, they reveal in these issues that the other future Blue Beetle that's there. Here's the thing. This book is written by Jeff Johns and Jeff Katz. The Black Beetle, as he's called, is a creation of Matthew Sturgis, who has never explained the backstory of this character. Yeah, they kind of explore this a little bit later on when it comes to backup feature in this book. Of course, you have Dan Jurgens doing the artwork. And mostly put, you just have Boost to Go traveling with a revived Ted Cord. And of course, on the cover, you see the Omax. The one from the Infinite Crisis event. That's mostly put basically what this is revisiting. And this is just a pure fun book. I thoroughly enjoy reading it. It is just so freaking good. Now, I say frickin', not the other F word. The one that's basically spelled with these letters. F-U-C-K. I'm not saying the word, but frickin' is another basically also. Let's say an alternate word to put there. It's just good. Really good. And Boost to Gold here's the thing about Boost to Gold. He's never had a bad comic that I've ever read. Nope. And here's a fun fact for you. Did you know the guy also had a Futures and one shot? Yes, he did. Despite the fact he didn't have a series published at that point, but DC gave him one. Because his creator, Dan Jurgens, wrote and drew the damn thing. And I met Dan Jurgens. And I did ask him, aside from him and Keith Giffen, who was a really good writer in your honest opinion, who was good at writing Boost to Gold? He told me this, Jeff Johns. Yes, he told me Jeff Johns is excellent at writing Boost to Gold. Going to be really good. And this is according to Dan Jurgens himself. And reading this, yeah, completely believable, that particular statement from him. And Boost to Gold, still to date, is one of two primary characters created by Dan Jurgens, who people do know him for when it comes to characters he created. There are two of his most popular characters he's created. And of course, Boost to Gold was featured first time outside comics in an episode of Justice League. I'll probably go more into more of, let's just say, oh, by the way, they also debut a group called Time Stealers, would technically make his debut in the Brad Meltzer Justice League America book. Here, they're kind of the villains here, per se, and there's some fun stuff here. Now, the whole thing, issue 0, is just basically kind of an origin story of Boost to Gold for, like, we have first origin of Boost to Gold, and then we have issue 0, which, yeah, going time steal with the various evil from the Blue Beetles. We also revisit to, get this, 0 Hour, which is of course the issue 0, which you have Extinct, and, of course, Parallax. Now here's the thing. Apparently, the way it's written here, apparently Blue Beetle has no idea about Parallax. Despite the fact he was part of the Justice League at this point in time. Yep, they take him on this issue because we're visiting 0 Hour, which is so awesome. Oh yeah, they also debut in this issue Boost to Gold's smoking hot sister, Michelle. Yep. And then we go to it, looks like a future, the Metropolis Space Museum, which I think this is where Booster got his equipment from. We see on display a Legion ring. We see a flag for Batman and Superman. We see a statue of the Green Lantern power battery from Oa. And also on display, we also have the helmet of Adam Strange and a Batarang. Yep. Of course, you have the Omax here. Yeah, then of course the Black Beetle basically leaves. Yep. And then they kind of end up in the ruins of basically Vanishing Point. Was attacked by the Omax. Yep. Which does lead to issue 7. And of course you have Rip Hunter traveling through time with David Carter. And they apparently have like an alternate take on Infinite Crisis. Of course, Dan Jurgens wrote it. So, not Dan Jurgens. Jeff Johns wrote it. So, this is an alternate take on it, which I think is a really cool idea. The fact he did this. That's most what this book is. And then we have basically two characters working together despite the fact these two hate each other. Hawkman and Green Arrow. Now you might be thinking, did part of this book, did Jeff Johns write Hawkman? Yep. How about Green Arrow? No. No, he never did. He never wrote any Green Arrow comics. Now, he would technically write Green Arrow after this. I believe the next time he wrote Green Arrow, to my knowledge, I don't remember he popped up in his run for Green Lantern. He did pop up his run for Justice League. For like a single issue. Yeah, it turns out the Supernova, who's actually, well, the father of Boost to Gold. So yeah, then we deal with a brainwashed Superman in the storyline. Yeah, and also Panthera's back. Yes, Panthera with Wild Dog. Panthera, if you don't know who this character is, she was brutally murdered by Superboy Prime during the events of Infinite Crisis. Now, apparently, it was from... I didn't know this initially because I wasn't reading these comics at that point. Apparently, people were actually not happy with the fact Jeff Johns killed her off because the fact she was a popular character. You also have Antitaro here, who's like a modern day caveman. Yeah, and also Superman is working for Maxwell Lord. Now, that is kind of something that did happen in the original, in the previous Infinite Crisis. It did. Excuse me. Now, of course, this was averted via the fact that, well, how should I put this? Maxwell Lord's neck being snapped by, of all people, Wonder Woman, which is basically one thing she's kind of known for when it comes to Maxwell Lord. Yeah. That is pretty much mostly what she's known for when it comes to basically Booster Gold, when it comes to this character. And Totaro. Yes. He is a character created by Howie Post. Yeah, he's a character for some reason who popped up in Showcase. And he kind of appeared in the present day, where he got killed off final issue of Final Crisis mentioned excerpt. Yeah, so they decided to have him die there. The guy who created Antaro is a guy by the name of Howie Post. He's no longer alive. Now, aside from this one character, you're probably thinking, was there any other famous characters created? Not really. And the whole thing with Antaro is that he's not that known of a character. As for why that boost, that basically that he was featured here, it could be a variety of reasons why. I mean, after his debut in Showcase, of course, Spiritual 100, he had a very brief ongoing series, which lasted for 6 issues, which Harry Posta would write and draw. Yeah. And after that book, he also, well, aside from this book also, he appeared on Crisis on Infinite Earths. He appeared in Tales of the Unexpected, the second volume of the book. A couple issues of Time Master's Vanishing Point. Mostly sporadic appearances. He's not exactly a very big character. And, well, this version gets killed off here, though. The actual version gets killed off just about a year later after the storyline came out in Final Crisis. Yep, and then, oh yeah, kind of bring the old gang back together, which is basically Justice International. Yep, that's what they had to do at the end of issue 8. Yeah, bring back the Justice League International. Yep. Which, yeah, it's so cool the fact that Jeff Johns would write them in here. Oh, yeah, and the main villains of this book, of this arc, is Checkmate. Yep. And apparently, Hadward Maxwell apparently has got Dr. Light. Now, this, of course, is an Arthur Light. Oh, no. It's his Asian successor to the title, who, for some reason, post-Flashpoint, he is married to her for some reason. I don't know why. It's bizarre. Yeah, and of course, they also counter, like, when the time bubble is damaged, they counter Booster Gold, they counter Scott Free, and Lockup. Yes, Lockup. And, well, they kind of form a new version of the Justice League International to deal with the Time Stealers. And then we have a version of playing out events in Infinite Crisis where we have Midnight, Martian Manhunter, and somebody else trapped on the wall of the body of the Anti-Monitor. Yeah, there's something from the events of Infinite Crisis. Now, according to a theory Linkara pointed out, he pointed out, though, that this could have been the Anti-Monitor brought back, but nope, it was a red herring. It was actually Alexander Luthor that was behind everything for Infinite Crisis. Yep. Of course, they're free, Battle Maxwell Lord, Batman, of course, was undercover as a guard. He basically breaks through. Dr. Light takes out Maxwell Lord. And the only way to basically stop this is basically having Ted Kord die. That's the only way timeline will start back now because Booster Gold really wanted to save his friend. Oh, by the way, it's revealed that Booster Gold's father is being controlled by Captain Marvel villain Mr. Mind. For reasons. I'm like, really? Yeah, Mr. Mind loves possessing people. This guy is a talking caterpillar who's also an alien. Yes, that is single Mr. Mind. Yeah, and of course you have more bugs popping out of him. Eventually, Blue Beetle does sacrifice himself in order to start a timeline. And of course, you do the 1 million stuff because, well, gotta do 1 million because Boost never had one, so why not? Oh, by the way, we do have a board where it says this: Azure comes and goes, Frey positive and negative, Booster Gold, Armageddon 2001, Death leads darkness. Yeah, I do enjoy the fact that, and of course the book ends with, well, the return of, well, this is basically Michelle, Booster Gold's sister, as Goldstar. Yep. And she kind of becomes his partner for the rest of the book. Meanwhile, though, in the epilogue, which of course apparently never gets resolved, we see somebody break into Kord Industries. It says, boo ha ha ha. And then we see a sneak peek into Booster Gold's past and future. We see apparently a blonde Batgirl. We see Boosty with an elongated man. A robot looking like Cyborg Superman. And something involving Brainiac 5 and the Legion Ring. Which is interesting. And of course you have the Project Cover Gallery stuff here, which is so awesome to put in here. Yeah, this book is really freaking good. I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's that good. Next up, we have the final trade for Moon Girl Down for Dinosaur. Well, the first volume for the series. This book collects issues 25-36. The first story arc involves her basically working with the two of the Fantastic Four to deal with Silver Surfer problem in this book and Galactus the Lightbringer. And you're probably thinking, Lightbringer? Isn't he the Devourer of Worlds? Yes, he is. But at this point in time, nope, he was a Lightbringer. Yeah, and basically it seems like the rate of this book is basically homogeneous the classic Fantastic Four stuff with Galactus acting as posing as possible, despite the fact that he plants anymore. If you're curious, who was responsible for this? Al Ewing, which I thought was a good direction for the character. And then somebody had become the Devourer of Worlds. Again, apparently for no reason at all. He's purple now. How did he get like this in the story? He ate his home world, and that apparently fixed him. Yep, it fixed him. And he became sort of a regular character in Ultimates by Al Ewing. A book that was canceled. Well, first it was relaunched #1 as Ultimates 2. Well, Ultimates Squared. And then, but by the way, both books, 13 issues. Because, of course, this book tried to fix the freaking broken timeline. Guy hit the erase button and tried to do it again. Cancel it. Don't bother doing anything with it. Book also celebrated its 100th issue. Which they didn't explain how the heck it got the number in the first place. And, yeah, and of course, we briefly have the Thing getting arrested. And lots of weird, kind of interesting stuff happened here. Also, Amy Reeder is no longer in the book. It's Brandon McCarr, who was the writer, and he pretty much writes the rest of the series. It's interesting at best, and plus we have good nostalgia stuff for, you have the Thing and Human Torch going through, like, old stuff in the past, like the black uniforms from the 80s, I think when John Byrne wrote the book. Yes, and a lot of good classic stuff here. Now, if you're also curious, though, okay, this book is roughly about 2018, I think it was. You're probably thinking, was it Fantastic Four and the X-Men at this point in time? No, they were actually headquartered out of a special-made apartment made by Reed Richards. And the apartment itself was destroyed about partially into Dan not Dan Dio. I'm trying to think, what was his name? Not Dan Dio. It was Dan Slott. Dan Slott. Yes, he was read the book, and partway through the book, he actually had it with FX. Basically, at first they had the Vex building, and then were given back the Vex building to Reed Richards just because, and they had pretty much the rest of the run until the current relaunch where the building was destroyed. Again. Yes, for the second time in Marvel comic history, the Vex building has been destroyed. First was destroyed back in the 80s when John Byrne took over the book, and now it's been destroyed again during the current run because the book got restarted right after the Judgment Day tie-in. But that's another altogether. Definitely an interesting book for what it is. We get the book roughly 9 out of 10. Final thoughts on the Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur First Flame. It's a very interesting book per se. It's definitely a book for kids. Like, if you want to get a kid into Marvel Comics Universe, this is one book to do for them. It's basically focused on a 9-year-old girl. The one thing in particular that does irk some people about this book is that she proclaims to be the smartest in the world and everybody believes her. Despite the fact that it belongs to Reed Richards. Not her. She will counter Reed Richards later on in my next trade, which I had previously reviewed. So with this book here, I am done with Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur for now until I review the, first for the collection from the most recent one from the book. Yep, and that's going to be pretty much it for particular video. Stay tuned for tomorrow for Metal Heroes and Comic Corner. Okay, thank you. Bye.